Oh, the original Paradise City is one of my favorite sort of Guns N' Roses moments when that song was written. It's one of my favorite Guns songs because it's heavy and it's nasty, but it's up tempo and sort of in a positive kind of, it's not all dark and Dungeons and Dragons and whatever, so it's got this really sort of up tempo, positive kind of vibe, but it's still raunchy and it's very nasty and it's got a kick-ass delivery. And when we wrote it, we were in a van on the way back from a gig in San Francisco back to Los Angeles. And it started out with the actual chorus, the chorus, the and it was one of those things where the melody came to the chords, and we were all in this van together. So started singing. I think the words came around, and then eventually, I came up with that riff, and it was just one of those songs that was totally the product of just really good times, great camaraderie between five guys, and it was really cool, and it came together really quickly. It was all part of the moment, It's a song sort of, as in most Guns N' Roses songs, especially on the Appetite for Destruction record, it sort of just wrote itself. And, once everybody was jamming the chords and singing the chorus, and then that just came to mind. And there's not a lot of thinking going on, at least in the way that I do things. It's more sort of spontaneous, Very sort of loose, that his way of loosely playing the main riff is always sort of in and around the actual notes. And then the part that I play is just went with the part. That was one of Izzy's parts. Was, instead of using an octave pedal, which were actually few and far between back in the day, there's a few sort of commonly known ones now, but and they just didn't sound that good. So what I did is just record both parts in an octave apart. Yeah, so it's it's one of those. I thought that was sort of a cool way of doing it. There's a part of the solo where I do the same thing, so it's a little bit more genuine sounding. One of the interesting things about Guns N' Roses is a lot of the riffs that I write for Guns originally started out a little bit more driving, but as the sort of slower and more almost funky kind of thing. And then what happens as in all Guns N' Roses material, everything gets kicked up a notch, and that's just the way Guns N' Roses does. But I thought if I was going to redo the song, I was going to make it a little bit slower and a little heavier. When Duff and Matt and I first got together, we did this benefit gig for Randy Castillo at the Key Club. And the Cypress Hill guys were there, Steve Tyler was there, and we did Paradise City that night. And Cypress Hill guys did the verses, rapping it, and then Steve Tyler and a couple other people sang the choruses, right? I got a lot of grief for working with Fergie, like all the sort of hard rock purists were like, dude, what are you doing? Because she exemplifies pop music. But the thing is I'd heard her sing a couple of years ago. I heard her sing rock and roll, like amazing rock and roll vocals in what's it called? This club in LA, and she was doing a medley of Black Dog from Zeppelin, Barracuda from Heart, and Live and Let Die from Paul McCartney, Guns N' Roses, however you want to look at it. And it was amazing. So, you know, I'm always on the lookout for good rock singers, as everybody knows. And so that was one of those things where I sort of stayed in touch with her and did a few more gigs with her. And then she called me up and wanted to do Sweet Child of Mine at the Orange County Fair. And I was really sort of, you know, not sure about it, but I just knew she's got this amazing voice. So I went down there and we sound checked it, and it was just awesome. So at that point, I knew I wanted to do something with her. And since I was doing this record, I had this one song that I had actually penned for a score in a movie I was working on simultaneously with demoing the record. And it was music was set to the strip bar with these girls dancing. And so that was the piece of music that I decided would be great for Fergie to sing. And she just came at me with this great lyric and great melody. And I think everybody will sort of get why I worked with her. The Paradise City solo, what happened was, you know, like I always tried to do all the guitar parts in one day and get it solo, rhythm parts, acoustic parts, whatever this. And by the time we finished Paradise City in like the octave parts and just putting all that together, I remember I did the solo that night and was pretty petered out. And I was really bummed at myself that I hadn't captured the take that night. It's the first time on the record that I actually sort of run into that problem. And so the next day I came in and that was the first thing I did. And it was just a real, just brash attack. And I think we did it in 2 takes and put the 2 best parts together.